exhaustion, and bleeding feet. No music played, no one smiled. They collapsed from hunger, heat, and dehydration. Sadly, some died right there in the square. The city called doctors, priests, even exorcists. No one knew what caused it. Some blamed a curse. Others thought it was divine punishment, spread like a nightmare across Strasbourg. Can you believe over 400 people caught the strange fever, and the dancing would not stop? A real plague, with no infection, just rhythm and madness. Check out the channel for more stories that are almost too insane to be true. The last samurai was real. His name was Sago Takamori. He lived in Japan during a time of massive change. The emperor wanted to modernize and ban the samurai way. Saigo refused to give up his sword or his honor. The old ways was all he had ever known. The battle was coming. He then gathered over 20,000 loyal warriors. They faced off against a modern army with guns and cannons. His men wore armor. The enemy wore uniforms. A new era had begun. In the end, there was swords versus bullets. Outnumbered and outgunned, they charged anyway. Saigo fought until he was the last one standing. Wounded, he chose to die with honor. To many, he became the real last samurai. The samurai symbol of loyalty, courage, and rebellion. His story inspired movies, legends, and a legacy that still lives on. Check out the channel for more epic stories like this. The deadliest sniper to ever live. He did not use a scope. He did not need one. In the frozen forests of Finland, he waited. His name was Simo Heiha. To the Soviets, he was known as White Death. He blended into the snow so well, he seemed invisible. In just 100 days, he had over 500 confirmed kills. All with iron sights. He even took a bullet to the face and survived. Then he returned to the battlefield. No glory, no medals, just deadly precision. One man held back an entire army, and he did it in temperatures as low as 40 degrees below zero. This is what a real legend looks like. The deadliest sniper. The coldest war. Check out the channel for more awesome stuff like this.
This is Elon Musk, the rise, the risk, the reality. Our story begins in Pretoria, South Africa, where Elon Musk was born in 1971. He was a quiet, curious child who got lost in books and dreams of outer space. At age 12, Elon built and sold his first video game, a space shooter coded in BASIC. School was brutal. He was bullied, beaten, and once hospitalized after being thrown downstairs. His father, Errol Musk, was an engineer, brilliant but controversial, and Elon later cut ties with him entirely. At 17, Elon left South Africa to avoid mandatory military service and moved to Canada with dreams of America. He enrolled at Queen's University, then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. There, he earned degrees in physics and economics and hatched plans to change the world. In 1995, he moved to Silicon Valley, started a PhD at Stanford, and dropped out 2 days later. Elon and his brother Kimball founded Zip2, a digital city guide for newspapers. They lived in the office, coded non-stop, and showered at the local YMCA. In 1999, Compaq bought Zip2 for $307 million. Elon walked away with $22 million. He used the money to launch X.com, one of the first online banking platforms. X.com merged with a company called Confinity and became what we now know as PayPal. Internal battles broke out over vision and leadership, and while Elon was on vacation, he was ousted as CEO. In 2002, eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Elon made $180 million. Instead of retiring, he risked it all, pouring his fortune into 3 new companies: Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. Everyone thought he was crazy. In 2002, he founded SpaceX with the goal of colonizing Mars. The first rockets failed spectacularly. They exploded, crashed, or simply didn't launch. He spent nearly every dollar left on the 4th attempt, and it finally reached orbit. At the same time, Tesla was on the brink of collapse. Production problems and the 2008 recession nearly destroyed the company. Elon funded payroll out of pocket and kept the lights on with sheer force of will. That year, SpaceX secured a contract with NASA, and Tesla received a lifeline loan from the US government. Tesla launched the Roadster, then the Model S, fast, beautiful, electric. The auto industry mocked him, then they panicked. Tesla pushed into energy, acquiring SolarCity to create a renewable ecosystem. He launched the Powerwall and promised a solar-powered future. SpaceX landed a rocket booster upright in 2015, a historic moment in space history. Reusable rockets changed everything. Musk created Neuralink to merge humans with AI and founded the Boring Company to solve traffic. Some called him the real-life Tony Stark. Others said he was stretched too thin, addicted to hype, and playing with fire. In 2016, Tesla announced the Model 3, its first affordable electric car for the masses. The pressure to deliver nearly crushed the company. Production was chaos, deadlines missed, critics loud, money tight. Elon slept on the factory floor, working 120-hour weeks to fix bottlenecks. Workers described brutal hours and constant demands, but the Model 3 was a hit. Tesla stock began to surge, and with it, Elon's fame and scrutiny. In 2018, he tweeted that he was taking Tesla private at $420 a share. Funding secured. The SEC charged him with securities fraud. He paid a fine, stepped down as chairman, and agreed to oversight, but remained CEO. Later that year, he smoked marijuana on Joe Rogan's podcast, triggering more headlines and a brief drop in Tesla stock. SpaceX, meanwhile, became the first private company to send astronauts into orbit. Reusable rockets saved billions and brought space launches back to US soil. Starlink began deploying thousands of satellites to beam internet across the globe. Musk's vision expanded. He spoke of Mars colonies, AI alignment, and defeating traffic with underground tunnels. He became the richest man in the world, and arguably the most controversial. He tweeted constantly about memes, Dogecoin, politics, and his own companies. Supporters loved the access. Critics called it reckless. In 2021, he sold billions in Tesla stock and moved to Texas, citing California's regulatory overreach. He became a culture war lightning rod, clashing with politicians, journalists, and regulators. In 2022, he stunned the world by offering to buy Twitter for $44 billion. At first, it seemed like a joke, another troll from the world's richest man. But it was real. He tried to back out, citing spam bots, but was legally forced to complete the deal. Once in charge, he fired Twitter's top execs and cut thousands of staff. He renamed the platform X, calling it the beginning of an everything app. Musk's leadership style was chaotic, dramatic policy shifts, mass firings, and platform instability. Advertisers fled, but he insisted it was necessary to protect free speech. Meanwhile, Tesla faced new challenges: rising competition, shrinking margins, and federal investigations. Autopilot was linked to crashes and deaths, raising questions about the tech's safety. Neuralink got FDA approval to begin human trials, and critics raised alarms over ethics and risk. The Boring Company slowed, but SpaceX soared, launching more rockets than any other company on Earth. Musk's legacy was now spread across 5 industries: cars, rockets, AI, energy, and social media. But in 2024, everything took another turn. In 2024, Elon Musk stepped deeper into American politics than ever before. He founded the America PAC, a political action committee that quickly aligned with Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. Reports estimated Musk personally poured between $250 and $350 million into the effort. He claimed he was saving the country from regulatory bloat and government dysfunction. After Trump's re-election, Musk was given a powerful position: head of the Department of Government Efficiency. The agency's acronym? DOGE. It was both a nod to Dogecoin and a mission to slash trillions in federal waste. Musk claimed the department identified nearly $180 billion in potential cuts within months. But critics called Doge a publicity stunt, a legal gray zone with unclear authority and questionable math. Lawsuits were filed, oversight was demanded. Doge soon became a symbol of government overreach, not efficiency. Inside the White House, tensions grew between Musk and senior Trump advisors. He clashed with political strategist Sergio Gore, calling him a snake and accusing him of sabotage. A public blow-up followed Musk's criticism of Trump's proposed Big Beautiful Bill, a sweeping spending package. Soon after, Musk resigned from Doge, tweeting that politics had become a circus of egos and bureaucracy. He promised to scale back political involvement and focus on engineering, not empire. But the damage was done. X was bleeding users. Tesla's stock was volatile. SpaceX was still launching, but all eyes were on Elon, the politician. Critics said he had become too powerful, a billionaire kingmaker who bent democracy to his will. Supporters said he was the only one bold enough to disrupt the system and build something better. In May 2025, Musk announced a personal reset. He pledged to step back from government, pull funding from political causes, and return full-time to his companies. Neuralink moved forward with its first human trial. Starship neared its first crewed lunar mission. Tesla teased a robotaxi revolution. And X? It remained his loudest, most unpredictable creation. Part platform, part battleground, part digital experiment. Through it all, Elon Musk remains a paradox. He is engineer and icon, visionary and provocateur, hero to some, villain to others. He has reshaped the world and continues to gamble with its future. Whether admired or feared, his story is far from over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more films from Knowing Things is Power.
The universe doesn't owe you meaning. We search the stars for answers, hoping they whisper back. But the universe is silent. There is no grand purpose waiting for you. Just space, time, and the chaos in between. You weren't born for a reason. You were born, and that's enough. Meaning isn't something you find out there. It's something you create inside yourself. Galaxies spin without knowing we exist. But we exist anyway. You care, and that is your power. The stars exploded so you could ask why you're here. And maybe that question is the whole point. You are the question. You are the answer. The cosmos doesn't care about your dreams. But you should always care about what you want in this short life. Some people fear a purposeless universe. Some will look to find freedom in it. You're free to choose what matters. You're free to define your path. You don't need permissions from the stars. You only need to act. Act with love. Act with courage. Build something. Break what holds you back. Fall, rise, fall again. Rise anyway. You don't get meaning handed to you. You build it moment by moment. And that's more powerful than fate. We live like sparks. Brief, bright, brilliant. Some people run from that truth. Others dance in it. Make music. Write stories. Laugh loudly. Love deeply. Even if the universe forgets you, you won't forget yourself, and that's enough. The void doesn't care, but you do. And your care shapes the world. You are not nothing. You are everything you choose to be. Your pain isn't pointless. It proves you feel. Your joy isn't meaningless. It proves you lived. So live. Really live. Breathe in the silence. Scream into the void. Shine in the dark. Burn like a star. You don't need a divine script. You are the author. You are the page. You are the pen. Write what matters to you. Forget the cosmic applause. Make your own music. When you feel small, remember, even atoms hold galaxies. When you feel lost, draw your own map. When someone tells you you don't matter, smile, because they're wrong. You matter because you choose to, and nothing can take that away. Like, share, and subscribe for more Into the Infinite episodes. Right now, you're hurtling through space at over 66,000 miles per hour. You don't feel it. You're sitting still. But the Earth is moving around the sun, and our big, beautiful sun is racing through the galaxy at nearly 500,000 miles per hour, dragging the whole solar system with it. That includes you. Every second, you're flying farther. You don't hear wind rushing past. There's no engine noise. No rumble under your feet, but space is moving. You're in constant motion. The Earth spins on its axis. That alone moves you hundreds of miles per hour. Then it orbits the sun, which adds tens of thousands more. Then the whole solar system orbits the galaxy. Stack them all together. And you've traveled 1.6 million miles today just by being alive, without taking a single step. You're flying through the universe, riding invisible forces. Through an ocean of stars. It's quiet out there, but the motion never stops. Even galaxies drift. And the Milky Way is on a collision course with Andromeda. They'll crash in a few billion years. But today, you're gliding through curved space-time, warped by gravity, bending light as you move. Like a roller coaster with no rails, guided by cosmic momentum. No fuel, no steering wheel. Yet perfectly balanced. Every atom in your body is along for the ride. You're part of the ship. Earth is the vessel. Gravity is the engine. And space is the highway. We don't notice it, but it's happening. All day, every day. The sky stays the same, but you're never still. Not for a second. Even when you sleep. Even when you think nothing's happening. You're moving fast, far, and together, every human, every animal, every tree and cloud, all traveling at insane speeds without knowing it. Space is wild like that, and you're part of it. Whether you believe it or not, you've traveled 1.6 million miles today, and that's just day one. Now imagine a lifetime. Welcome to your place in the universe. Don't forget to subscribe for more, because there's a lot more where that came from. This is your daily news recap for June 23, 2025. Today, a new flashpoint emerges as Iran launches missiles at United States bases in Qatar and Iraq. There were no reported casualties, but regional airspace was shut down. This came in direct response to recent United States airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the UAE closed their skies ahead of the strikes. President Trump called out Iran's attack and thanked Tehran for giving advance warning. Global markets are jittery as oil prices fluctuated sharply after the escalation. Goldman Sachs warns Brent crude could hit $100 if the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted. Despite fears, oil prices pulled back slightly as OPEC supply buffers reassure markets. The NATO summit in The Hague is overshadowed by the Iran strikes. European leaders expressed concern over being sidelined in United States military decisions. France urged diplomacy over force, while Germany and others were blindsided by the strikes. Russia condemned the United States strikes and called for urgent diplomatic solutions. European nations are now pushing for tougher sanctions on Israel. In Gaza, over 200 Palestinians were killed in Israeli bombardments this weekend. Amnesty International accuses Israel of committing genocide in southern Gaza. Spain prepares to request the EU suspend its partnership with Israel over human rights abuses. The UN Security Council held an emergency session to address rising tensions. Global civilian flights faced major disruption due to closed airspace in the Middle East. The United States moved non-essential personnel out of Lebanon, amid fear of wider conflict. Iran's parliament voted to potentially close the Strait of Hormuz if provoked further. That strait carries nearly 20% of global oil supply every day. The United States stock market saw mild dips on rising geopolitical risk. Tesla shares rose after launching a new driverless robotaxi program in Austin. Northern Trust surged on rumors of a merger with Bank of New York Mellon. Stellantis shares dropped after a leadership shakeup and suspended guidance. Major United States insurers announced streamlined prior authorization to improve care. A scorching heat dome is blanketing parts of the United States with dangerous humidity. Europe faces a record heat wave with hundreds of lives lost in the UK. France's power grid strained as heat disrupts nuclear and hydro output. Germany, Ireland, Spain, and Portugal issued heat alerts as temperatures soared. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory released its first breathtaking images of the cosmos. The solar orbiter captured an unprecedented view of the sun's south pole. Fred Smith, founder of FedEx, was laid to rest at 80 years old. Sean Combs faces legal fallout from an emerging trafficking case. NATO leaders pledge increased defense budgets in response to global instability. Ukraine remains a key concern, with new Russian missile strikes reported. Greece arrested a suspected spy on Crete, raising espionage alarms. King Charles III met privately with President Zelensky in Windsor. Japan's Shinmo-dake volcano erupted, prompting localized alerts. 4 JSDF soldiers were injured in an explosives mishap at Kadena Air Base. Poland concluded its presidential election with a tight runoff victory. Ukraine launched a large drone strike on Russian positions overnight. Air India Flight 171 crashed in Ahmedabad, killing more than 240 people. North American cities saw immigration protests sweep through major downtowns. The G7 summit in Canada focuses on global economic and defense challenges. Japan clinched a 6-0 victory over Indonesia to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. A Japanese lunar lander crashed during descent in a failed mission attempt. Markets eye Jerome Powell's upcoming testimony on Fed policy and inflation. Commodity prices dropped as investors awaited key earnings reports. Bitcoin surged past $101,000 amid renewed tech sector optimism. New Brunswick officials investigate major cybersecurity breaches. Ice Cube's summer tours announcement lit up social media feeds. Hollywood's award season begins with a high-profile scandal already brewing. A new vitamin D study hints at increased longevity benefits. Early trials show promise for a new gonorrhea vaccine in the UK. The Pandora mission will soon launch to explore distant exoplanets. NASA's IMAP probe prepares to collect interstellar dust for analysis. A rare Atlantic storm formed unexpectedly, catching meteorologists off guard. Scientists warn of rising microplastics in farmland around the world. A collapsed tunnel disrupted rail services in northern England. Historic manuscripts were stolen from a museum in Paris. Teens across the United States mimic medieval sword fights in viral trend. A Georgia lawmaker proposed banning AI art in advertisements. An indie game shattered Steam download records in just 24 hours. That's your top news for June 23, 2025. Catch the full stories on our channel. Subscribe so you never miss a daily recap. How Iran became a fortress. In the heart of the Middle East lies one of the most strategically placed nations on Earth. Iran sits beside the Strait of Hormuz. It's a narrow waterway where 20% of the world's oil passes daily. One missile, one blockade, one drone strike. And global oil prices could erupt overnight. But this isn't a new story. For centuries, foreign powers have tried to conquer this land and failed. From Alexander the Great to the Mongols, Iran has always been a prize worth bleeding for. And over time, the Iranian people learned a harsh truth. Survival requires strength. Today, Iran has one of the most fortified military networks in the region. Its mountains hide underground bases. Its skies are laced with anti-air systems. And beneath the surface, Iran has built a web of tunnels, bunkers, and weapons stockpiles. The West often paints Iran as isolated. But isolated doesn't mean weak. In fact, that isolation has shaped a siege mentality and a mastery of asymmetrical warfare. Iran doesn't need to win a conventional war. It only needs to raise the cost high enough to deter one. The Revolutionary Guard commands land, sea, air, and even cyber operations. They've mastered fast-tack naval tactics, using small boats to swarm massive U.S. carriers. Their missile program is vast. Hundreds of ballistic missiles are ready to launch at a moment's notice. Some can reach Israel. Others can strike deep into Saudi Arabia or American bases in the Gulf. Iran's drones have become infamous. Cheap, deadly, and nearly impossible to intercept in swarms. Just ask Ukraine. Some of the drones used by Russia were designed in Iran. But it's not just machines. Iran has another weapon: alliances. The axis of resistance, including Hezbollah militias in Iraq and the Houthis in Yemen, all trace support back to Tehran. These groups don't wear Iranian flags, but they serve Iranian interests. It's warfare by proxy, and it works. Every time the West considers a strike, they have to factor in attacks from a dozen fronts. Iran knows it can't outgun NATO, but it can outbleed them. Even a limited conflict could close the Strait of Hormuz, instantly paralyzing the global economy. The last time tensions escalated, oil jumped from $60 to over $80 in days. Imagine what a real war would do? The world's supply chains, already strained, would snap. Gas prices would skyrocket. Inflation would surge. Entire nations would feel the shockwaves. And Iran knows this. It's their shield, their deterrent, their fortress. But how did Iran become so hardened? It began in 1953, when a U.S. and British-backed coup overthrew Iran's elected prime minister. That wound never healed. It planted the seed of distrust that still shapes Iranian policy. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution erupted, overthrowing the Shah and ending Western control. Soon after, America became the Great Satan, and Iran became the West's most defiant rival. The Iran-Iraq War tested the new regime, a brutal 8-year conflict that killed nearly 1 million people. Iran was outgunned. Saddam Hussein had Western support, but Iran didn't break. It adapted. It built networks. It learned to fight with less and make every loss cost more. That war forged the mindset of today's Iran, paranoid, prepared, and proud. Then came sanctions, isolation, assassinations of scientists, cyber attacks, more proxy wars. Every attack, every pressure made Iran dig deeper literally and politically. By the 2000s, Iran had fully embraced the logic of resistance. They couldn't match U.S. air power, but they didn't need to. Instead, they turned to guerrilla warfare, cyber-sabotage, and regional influence. And every time their enemies changed tactics, Iran evolved again. Their Quds force became legendary, training militias, exporting ideology, and destabilizing rivals. Nuclear ambitions made headlines, but Iran's real strength lies in its resilience. You can strike a bunker, but can you stop an idea? The Iranian system is complex. Part democracy, part theocracy, part military-industrial shadow state. Its people are diverse, proud, and politically aware. And most of all, they remember. Every missile fired at them, every embargo, every betrayal. And yet, they're still here. Invading Iran today would require tens of thousands of troops, months of preparation, and untold casualties. And for what? No one wins a war with Iran. Not anymore. Even a limited strike could trigger global chaos and fuel the very extremism it aimed to stop. So instead, the world watches cautiously, nervously, as Iran plays the long game, investing in weapons, building alliances, digging deeper into the mountains. Their message is simple: come if you dare. Iran has become more than a country. It's a fortress, a warning, a reminder that some nations bend, and others learn how not to break. Into the infinite. What are neutron stars? Neutron stars are the remnants of massive suns that died in fiery explosions. What's left behind is smaller than a city, but heavier than our entire sun. These stars collapse so tightly that their atoms are crushed. Protons and electrons merge, forming pure neutrons. A cosmic neutron ball. A sugar cube-sized chunk of neutron star would weigh 1 billion tons. They spin fast, insanely fast, sometimes hundreds of times per second. Their gravity is intense enough to bend light and warp time. Some shoot out powerful radio beams like lighthouses in space. We call these pulsing versions pulsars, blinking on and off in rhythm. They were first detected by accident and briefly thought to be alien signals. Neutron stars come from supernova, the death cry of giant suns. When the sun explodes, its core crushes in and becomes this dense relic. If it had any more mass, it would have become a black hole instead. But a neutron star holds the line, an object on the edge of collapse. Their magnetic fields are trillions of times stronger than Earth's. These fields twist and snap, sending waves of energy across the galaxy. Some neutron stars are so powerful, we call them magnetars. Magnetars can disrupt electronics from thousands of light years away. These exotic stars rotate with extreme precision, down to the millisecond. Astronomers use pulsars as cosmic clocks to measure time across the universe. Even as they slow down, they pulse with eerie accuracy. Some neutron stars live alone, drifting silently in space. Others orbit companions, siphoning matter from nearby stars. When this happens, they flare up, emitting X-rays and deadly radiation. Neutron stars challenge our understanding of physics. They contain matter so dense we can't replicate it on Earth. The surface is a solid crust of nuclear material. Beneath that crust lies a liquid ocean of neutrons. And below that, possibly, an exotic core of strange matter. We don't fully understand what lies at the center of a neutron star. It might be the closest thing to a black hole that still has a surface. Their gravity traps nearly everything, but not light, not yet. And still, they're small, only 10 to 15 miles across. If Earth were crushed to that size, it would become a neutron star too. They move fast, hurtling through space at millions of miles per hour. Some have been clocked faster than any other object not using rockets. When two neutron stars collide, the universe trembles. These collisions send out gravitational waves, ripples in space-time. They also create gold, platinum, and other heavy elements. Yes, the gold in your jewelry might have come from a neutron star smash. The 2017 neutron star merger was the first event seen in light and gravity. It confirmed decades of predictions and blew open new areas of science. Neutron stars are not just dead stars. They're cosmic engines. They shape galaxies, seed planets, and tell time across dimensions. Each one is a laboratory of extreme physics. They challenge Einstein and Newton in the same breath. Our telescopes can't see their surfaces directly, only their emissions. But we can map their spin, their light, and their effect on nearby space. In deep time, they cool and fade, becoming black dwarfs if left alone. Yet in some scenarios, they reignite, triggering fresh collapses. These zombie stars refuse to stay dead. They're stars, but also something entirely different. They're not hot enough for fusion, but too dense to ignore. And even though they're dead, they still influence living stars. Some neutron stars are in binary systems, dancing with partners. Others drift, invisible, until they suddenly appear in a burst. The universe is littered with their ghosts. We found thousands, but millions more may roam, unseen, unmeasured, unimagined. To find them, we listen, not with eyes, but with radio waves. Some emit like a heartbeat, others just whisper and vanish. The signals they send can travel across the universe untouched. Time itself ticks to their rhythm in the depths of space. Even black holes can't pull off that kind of stability. Neutron stars balance on the edge of impossible. They are heavy, silent, ancient, and relentless. Their existence proves that death in space is never simple. It's messy, brilliant, violent, and sometimes still pulsing. In the scale of cosmic history, neutron stars are the echo of giants. What they leave behind shapes the galaxies we live in, and understanding them brings us closer to understanding ourselves. Because in their silence, they tell stories of life, death, and eternity. This is the mystery and majesty of neutron stars. Subscribe for the next journey into the infinite. Into the infinite. How galaxies form. The universe began in chaos. Moments after the Big Bang, there were no galaxies, just energy, particles, and expansion. As the cosmos cooled, hydrogen atoms formed, filling space with an invisible fog. Gravity began pulling this gas into clumps, the seeds of something bigger. Tiny variations in density made some regions collapse faster than others. These early gas clouds spun and flattened into massive disks. Stars ignited inside them, lighting up the dark universe. These growing structures were the first galaxies. Galaxies didn't form all at once. They evolved over billions of years. Some were spirals, spinning with elegant arms. Others became giant ellipses, shaped by violent mergers. Collisions between galaxies weren't rare. They were part of their growth. When galaxies collided, stars rarely crashed, but gravity reshaped everything. Black holes at their centers grew larger with each merger. Our own Milky Way likely formed from dozens of smaller galaxies. Over time, galaxies sorted themselves into clusters and superclusters. These massive structures now stretch across the observable universe. The space between galaxies is vast, but gravity keeps them linked. Galaxies don't just contain stars. They're surrounded by dark matter halos. This dark matter holds galaxies together like invisible scaffolding. Without it, galaxies would fly apart. The Milky Way is a spiral galaxy with over 100 billion stars. It also has dust, gas, nebulae, planets, and one mysterious black hole at the center. That black hole, Sagittarius A, helps keep the galaxy balanced. Galaxies often have satellite galaxies orbiting around them. The Milky Way has several, including the large and small Magellanic Clouds. Some galaxies are still forming stars. Others are old and quiet. Young galaxies glow blue from new stars being born. Older galaxies appear redder. Their star factories have shut down. When we look deep into space, we see galaxies as they were billions of years ago. It's like looking back in time. Some galaxies we see today may no longer exist. The James Webb Space Telescope is revealing galaxies we've never seen before. These distant galaxies help us understand how it all began. Each galaxy is like a cosmic city, full of stars, planets, and possibilities. Some are small, with just a few million stars. Others, like IC 1101, contain hundreds of trillions. Galaxies spin, drift, and sometimes devour each other. Andromeda is on a collision course with the Milky Way. In about 4 billion years, they'll merge into one supergalaxy. That future galaxy has already been nicknamed Milkomeda. Galaxy formation is still happening. Even now, it's a story written in stars and gravity. Some galaxies are shaped by winds from exploding stars. Others are sculpted by supermassive black holes. Galaxies evolve over time, changing shape and structure. Some grow by pulling in gas from intergalactic space. Others shrink, stripped bare by larger neighbors. There's a limit to how big galaxies can get. Physics sets the rules. But there's no limit to the variety of forms they can take. Each one is a different solution to the same cosmic equation. From dwarf galaxies to giants, every one tells a story. The universe contains over 2 trillion galaxies. Yet we've barely scratched the surface. Most galaxies lie too far away for us to study in detail. But each one brings us closer to understanding our origins. Galaxies are not just star factories. They're cosmic laboratories. They reveal the history of matter, energy, and space itself. Without galaxies, there would be no stars, no planets, no life. They are the cradles of complexity in the universe. And like us, they are born, they live, and eventually, they change or fade away. But their light continues to travel across time and space. Every galaxy is a message from the early universe, a shining reminder of how order emerged from chaos, and how we are part of that same cosmic journey. Subscribe for more episodes of Into the Infinite, and keep exploring. Into the Infinite. Episode 4. What is dark matter? We can't see it, we can't touch it, but we know it's there. Dark matter makes up 85% of all the matter in the universe. Yet we've never directly observed a single particle of it. So how do we know it exists? The answer lies in gravity. Galaxies spin so fast they should tear themselves apart, but they don't. Something invisible is holding them together. That something is dark matter. It doesn't emit light. It doesn't absorb light. It doesn't interact with normal matter the way we expect, but its gravitational fingerprint is everywhere. We can see it bending light from distant galaxies. We can map its presence by how galaxies cluster together. Without dark matter, the universe as we know it couldn't exist. It's the scaffolding that holds galaxies in place. And yet, it remains a mystery. Physicists have built giant underground detectors. They've launched satellites into space. They've searched for elusive particles like WIMPs and Xions. But so far, nothing. Dark matter refuses to reveal itself. Some scientists think it's a new kind of particle. Others believe our understanding of gravity might be flawed. There's even a theory that dark matter might not exist at all, but the evidence says otherwise. Dark matter shapes the universe on the largest scales. It formed the cosmic web that galaxies cling to. It influenced the evolution of the first stars. It even affects how galaxies collide and merge. Without it, the universe looks wrong. too empty, too unstable, too fragile. And yet, it remains completely invisible. That's the paradox of dark matter, seen only through what it holds together, felt only by what it prevents from falling apart. In a way, it's the silent architect of the cosmos. Its role is essential, its nature unknown, and for every experiment we run, it stays just out of reach. The hunt continues in labs deep underground, in detectors chilled to near absolute zero, in massive particle colliders, in telescopes that peer across billions of years. It's the greatest hide-and-seek game in science, and we're still the seekers. One day, we might detect it. We might trap a single particle. We might prove its existence beyond doubt. Or we might discover something even stranger, something that rewrites the rules of physics. Until then, we map the invisible. We build models around shadows, and we ask questions that have no easy answers. What is dark matter? Where did it come from? What secrets is it hiding? And what happens if we never find it? Into the infinite, the unknown is where discovery begins. Subscribe so you don't miss the next step in our journey through the cosmos. Your Daily World Recap. June 22, 2025, President Trump has confirmed a coordinated U.S.-Israeli airstrike on 3 major Iranian nuclear sites. The targets were Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, all key to Iran's uranium enrichment efforts. Iran claims several scientists were killed and vows to retaliate. U.S. aircraft reportedly returned safely with no casualties. Global markets immediately reacted. Oil prices spiked nearly 7% within hours. Gold surged as investors fled to safety. The Dow dropped 400 points before recovering slightly by midday. In response, China called for maximum restraint and warned of wider regional instability. Russia accused the U.S. of reckless provocation and held emergency talks with Tehran. Israel remains on high alert, with Iron Dome systems fully deployed. Lebanon's Hezbollah issued a statement threatening retaliation from the north. Meanwhile, peace talks between Ukraine and Russia have stalled again. Fighting continues near Kharkiv, with Ukrainian forces holding a key rail junction. Russia launched more drone strikes on civilian infrastructure overnight. Ukraine reported at least 14 civilian deaths and dozens injured. In Europe, France is reeling after another night of protests. Anger erupted after police fatally shot a teenage driver during a traffic stop in Lyon. President Macron called for calm, but has deployed over 10,000 officers nationwide. Social tensions remain high as youth-led demonstrations spread across major cities. Back in the U.S., the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a new challenge to Section 230. The case could change how tech companies handle content moderation. Legal experts say it may be the biggest internet regulation battle in 2 decades. Social media platforms are watching closely and preparing for possible changes. A record-breaking heatwave is scorching southern India. Temperatures in Delhi hit 50 degrees Celsius, the highest in recorded history. Hospitals are overwhelmed and power grids are strained. Climate scientists warn this may become the new normal. In science news, NASA's Artemis 3 mission has been delayed again. The planned return of humans to the moon is now set for 2027. Technical issues and funding gaps continue to push timelines back. Critics say the U.S. is falling behind China in lunar exploration. Elsewhere in Asia, North Korea launched 2 short-range missiles into the sea. Japan reported no damage, but called the launches a clear provocation. South Korea responded with live-fire drills near the border. Tensions on the peninsula remain at their highest in months. And in Africa, Ethiopia has declared a nationwide state of emergency. Violent clashes between federal forces and rebel groups have escalated in the Amhara region. Thousands have been displaced, and internet service is down across several provinces. The United Nations is calling for urgent humanitarian access. Finally, a global story with a twist. Argentina's economy has unexpectedly stabilized. After months of turmoil, inflation has dropped below 30% for the first time in a year. The peso has strengthened slightly, and foreign investors are showing renewed interest. It's a rare piece of good news in a week filled with tension. That's your world recap for today. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a global update. We'll see you again tomorrow. Stay informed. The real stories behind urban legends. Some stories are whispered in the dark, told around campfires or in school hallways. But the truth behind them is often stranger than the legend itself. Let's uncover the real origins of the world's most famous urban myths. Say her name 3 times in a mirror, and she appears. Children across generations have tested it in bathrooms lit by candlelight. But this terrifying ritual may have roots in real history. Some believe the legend is linked to Queen Mary I of England. She earned the nickname Bloody Mary for burning hundreds of Protestants at the stake. Others say it's tied to anxiety over womanhood and puberty. Psychologists note the mirror game was often played during sleepovers at a certain age. It may have been a rite of passage disguised as a scare, or simply a way to confront one's reflection and mortality in the dark. A young couple sits in a parked car late at night. A radio broadcast warns of an escaped killer with a hook for a hand. Frightened, they drive away, only to find a bloody hook on the door handle. It's a classic tale of terror and morality. But the earliest known version appeared in the 1950s, right when American society was growing. Anxious about teenage sexuality, experts say the story was used to warn young lovers to behave. Not supernatural, but social control in disguise. A woman drives home at night. Car follows her closely, flashing its lights again and again. When she arrives, the other driver screams. Someone was hiding in her back seat. This chilling tale exploded in the 1980s, and it wasn't just fiction. It mirrored real crimes. Multiple cases involved attackers hiding in cars at gas stations or parking lots. The legend may have grown from fear of vulnerability in everyday life, especially for women driving alone. Tall, faceless, watching from the trees. Slender Man became an internet horror icon in the 2000s, but unlike older legends, this one has a clear origin. He was created in 2009 by a user on the Something Awful forums. It's a deliberate attempt to make a viral myth, and it worked too well. In 2014, 2 girls stabbed a friend to please Slender Man. It shocked the world and proved how fiction can twist reality. Slender Man was fake, but the fear became tragically real. You pick up a girl on the side of the road. She says she's going home, but disappears before you arrive. When you knock on the door, her parents say she died years ago. Versions of this tale date back to the 1800s and are found in cultures around the world. Some say it's about guilt, a metaphor for grief and lost loved ones. Others see it as a ghost story warning drivers to be cautious. The details change, but the core emotion remains the same. New York City's most bizarre rumor: alligators living in the sewers. The idea dates back to the 1930s. Newspapers claimed people flushed baby gators bought as pets. Some stories say they grew huge and aggressive underground. In truth, there's no real evidence of a colony surviving. But a few alligators were found in urban settings, likely escapees or pets. The myth grew from tabloid exaggerations and exotic pet trade fears. It's urban anxiety dressed as a monster story. You're alone at night. A child knocks on your door, asking to come in. But their eyes are completely black. This legend surfaced in 1996 on an internet mailing list. The author claimed a real encounter, but offered no proof. Soon reports from others followed. Most experts say it's a mix of sleep paralysis, internet lore, and suggestion. Once you hear it, your mind plays tricks in the dark. And every knock becomes a question. What if? In the 1980s, rumors spread of a strange arcade machine in Portland, Oregon. Players said it caused seizures, nightmares, and memory loss. Then the machine supposedly vanished, along with government agents. No actual records of the game exist. Most believe it was a mashup of real events: game addiction, FBI raids, and paranoia. The legend lives on because it combines fear of control and lost memory, and the idea that something fun could hide something dangerous. Urban legends aren't just stories, they're mirrors of our fears, warnings from the past, or reflections of our present. Behind every myth, there's a truth waiting to be seen. And once you know it, the legend changes forever. There's a real story behind every shadow. Subscribe to Knowing Things is Power for more hidden truths, before the next legend finds you. The fabric of space-time, how the universe holds itself together. Space-time is not empty. It's a four-dimensional web that connects everything, everywhere, through both space and time. Every second you move through it, even standing still, you're traveling through time. But add motion, or gravity, and space-time starts to bend. The more mass you have, the deeper the curve. This bending is what we experience as gravity, not a force pulling you, but the shape of the universe telling matter how to move. Einstein figured this out in 1915, and the world has never been the same. The Earth orbits the Sun, not because it's pulled by an invisible force, but because it's following the curved path carved out by the Sun in space-time. Light itself bends around massive objects. We photographed it. This bending is called gravitational lensing, and it proves space-time is more than theory. It's real. Imagine a trampoline with a bowling ball in the center. Roll a marble around the edge. That's how the moon orbits Earth, not by pulling, but by falling along a curve. Now imagine stretching that trampoline into 4 dimensions. That's space-time and black holes. They are the deepest dents in the cosmic fabric. So deep, not even light can escape. Because even light travels on space-time, and space-time ends at the singularity. But space-time isn't rigid. It ripples. Colliding black holes send out waves, gravitational waves. And in 2015, we finally detected them. 100 years after Einstein predicted them. We heard the sound of space-time shaking. The universe spoke, and we listened. Time itself moves slower near massive objects. It's not just science fiction. It's been proven by satellites. Your GPS wouldn't work if we didn't account for it. Time is relative. This means astronauts age slower than people on Earth. It's a tiny difference, but it's real. So what even is space-time made of? That's the mystery. It behaves like a fabric, but we don't yet know what threads it's woven from. Some physicists think it's quantum in nature. That at the smallest level, space-time is pixelated, like a video game. Others believe it could be made of strings, as in string theory. Or even more bizarre, that space-time is an emergent illusion, born from deeper math we haven't yet grasped. But one thing is certain. Space-time is the stage for everything. Galaxies, light, planets, time, gravity, all dancing on this invisible grid. Without it, there is no place or when. We exist because it exists, and we're part of its geometry. Your weight is just your interaction with curved space-time. You are literally shaping the universe with your mass. Even your body warps space-time, just a little. But collectively, all matter molds it. That's why galaxies form where they do. Dark matter may not be visible, but it curves space-time, and that curve pulls galaxies into shape. Space-time tells galaxies how to form. In turn, galaxies shape space-time. It's a feedback loop across billions of light years. What lies beyond our universe's space-time? We don't know. There may be other universes, each with their own fabric, and different rules entirely. But here, in ours, the fabric stretches. It expands. Since the Big Bang, space-time has been growing. Not into something, but making more of itself. And that expansion is accelerating, driven by something we call dark energy. We don't know what it is, but it's pushing galaxies apart faster and faster. Space-time is not static. It's alive with motion. And one day, that motion may tear everything apart, or bring it back together. But for now, we float, held together by the quiet strength of the universe's design. The next time you look up at the night sky, remember, you're not just seeing stars. You're seeing the shape of time. Subscribe to explore more of the infinite. The universe is just getting started.
This is Into the Infinite, Black Holes, Monsters of Gravity. A journey into the darkest, strangest places in the universe. Black holes are the most terrifying objects in the universe. They warp space, devour stars, and erase everything, even light. But they weren't born monsters. They began as ordinary stars. A star burns fuel to resist gravity, but when it runs out, gravity wins. The star collapses inward, fast and violent. If it's massive enough, nothing stops it. The collapse squeezes all its mass into a single point. This is called a singularity, infinite density, zero volume. Surrounding it is the event horizon. Cross that line and you never come back. Not even light can escape. That's why it's black. To the outside world, time stops at the event horizon. But for the falling object, it continues toward destruction. We can't see inside a black hole. Physics breaks down. It's the edge of knowledge. The laws of reality don't work there. But black holes aren't just voids. They shape galaxies. At the center of the Milky Way, there's a supermassive black hole. It's called Sagittarius A*. It's millions of times more massive than the Sun, and it holds our entire galaxy together. Most galaxies have a monster like this at their core. Black holes are architects of the cosmos, but they're not all gigantic. Some are only a few times the mass of the Sun. They form when stars die. Others may form from merging neutron stars. We find them by what they do, not what they are. They bend light around them, a trick called gravitational lensing. They tear apart stars that drift too close. These tidal disruptions send flares across the sky. Some black holes spin. That spin can twist space itself. They can merge, creating ripples in space-time. We call those gravitational waves. In 2015, we detected them for the first time. It proved Einstein was right. Again, black holes grow when they feed. They eat gas, stars, even other black holes. As matter spirals in, it heats up. Some of the brightest objects in the universe form this way. They're called quasars, bright enough to outshine entire galaxies. Eventually, a black hole can become dormant, quiet, waiting. But it never dies. Hawking radiation may slowly shrink it, but that takes longer than the age of the universe. If you fell into one, your fate would depend on its size. Small ones would spaghettify you instantly. Large ones might let you pass the event horizon painlessly, but you'd still be doomed. Some theories say black holes could be portals, maybe even to other universes. Others say they erase information, a paradox we haven't solved. Stephen Hawking wrestled with that mystery for decades. In 2019, we saw the unseeable, a blurry image of a black hole shadow. It was a cosmic milestone, proof that monsters are real. But even monsters follow rules. Understanding them brings us closer to the truth. Black holes aren't evil. They're part of the engine that runs the universe. Where they exist, matter collapses. But so does ignorance. We peer into the darkness and find answers written in gravity. This is how black holes work. This is Into the Infinite.
Into the Infinite. Episode 1. How the universe was born before time began. There was nothing. No light, no matter, not even space. Then, in a single moment, the universe exploded into existence. This moment is called the Big Bang. It wasn't a bang in space. It was space itself expanding. In less than a second, everything we know was compressed into something smaller than an atom. Temperature, energy, and raw chaos surged outward at unimaginable speed. The laws of physics were forged in those first few heartbeats. Gravity, time, and light came into existence. The universe was still dark. A hot fog of particles. No stars. No planets. Just expanding plasma. It took 380,000 years for the first light to shine through. We still see that light today. It's called the cosmic microwave background. Tiny imperfections in that light became the seeds of galaxies. Gravity began pulling matter into clumps. Hydrogen atoms formed, the simplest building block of everything. Then came helium, forged in the first few minutes after the Big Bang. Over millions of years, gravity crushed clouds of hydrogen together. The first stars ignited, giants burning hot and fast. These stars lived fast and died in massive explosions. Supernova spread heavier elements into space. Those elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, would one day build planets and people. But first, the stars had to die for them to be born. Galaxies took shape as stars gathered in swirling arms of gravity. The Milky Way formed this way, one of billions in the sky. Black holes appeared, born from collapsing stars. Some grew enormous and sat at the hearts of galaxies. Dark matter, invisible and silent, shaped everything behind the scenes. We can't see it, but its gravity holds galaxies together. Then came dark energy, something even stranger. It's causing the universe to expand faster and faster. We don't know what dark energy is, but it now makes up most of the known universe. In one corner of the Milky Way, a small star lit up. Our sun was born 4.6 billion years ago. Leftover dust swirled around it and formed planets. Earth was one of them, just a rock in a violent solar nursery. The early Earth was molten, bombarded by asteroids. Water may have arrived from space, riding on icy comets. Life didn't begin immediately, but the ingredients were there. Carbon, heat, and time. Somewhere in the oceans, simple molecules formed. Then they began to copy themselves. These tiny builders of life became bacteria. They changed the atmosphere, adding oxygen to the air. More complex life followed, cells with nuclei, then plants, then animals. All of it from atoms forged in dead stars. But the universe didn't stop evolving. Galaxies kept colliding and merging. Our Milky Way is on a slow crash course with Andromeda. In 4 billion years, they'll become one giant galaxy. Meanwhile, stars continue to live and die. Our sun will one day swell into a red giant and destroy Earth. After that, it will shrink into a white dwarf, a glowing ember of what it was. And even that will fade over time. The universe will grow colder and darker. Stars will die out. Black holes will evaporate. This future is called heat death, when all usable energy is gone. Time keeps ticking, but nothing happens anymore. But right now, we live in a golden age. Stars shine, planets spin. Life thinks. We're the universe, observing itself, made of stardust, powered by sunlight. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a dying star. You are proof that the cosmos creates minds. From nothing came everything. From chaos came order. From dust came life. And from silence came thought. This is how the universe was born. This is only the beginning. If you want to keep going deeper, subscribe for more episodes of Into the Infinite. Think you're smart? Let's make you smarter. These facts, mental tricks, and brain-boosting insights will upgrade how you think. One idea at a time. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's energy. That's more than any other single organ. Even when you're sleeping, it's still pulling power, sorting memories, repairing neurons, and preparing you for tomorrow. So when you're mentally drained after a long day, that's not in your head. That's real exhaustion. If you want to learn something fast, try teaching it to someone else. This is called the Feynman technique. It forces you to simplify, explain clearly, and discover what you don't actually understand. Teaching is learning in disguise. Multitasking is a myth. What your brain really does is switch back and forth between tasks rapidly, which burns energy and increases mistakes. That's why texting during a conversation or working with 5 tabs open feels so draining. Want to do better? Focus on one thing at a time. Chewing gum while studying, then chewing the same gum during a test can actually improve recall. It's called context-dependent memory. Your brain connects smells, tastes, and surroundings to what you're trying to remember. Smart students choose smart. Most of a book's value is packed into just 25% of its content. Great readers know this and skip filler. That's how CEOs and top thinkers blaze through dozens of books without reading every page. You're not skipping, you're targeting. Believe it or not, your attention span is now shorter than a goldfish's, but you can train it back. Focusing on one task for 20 minutes without distraction starts to rewire your brain. Just like muscles, use it or lose it. Sleep isn't just rest, it's brain maintenance. During deep sleep, your brain flushes out waste proteins and clears out mental clutter. Skip sleep, and you don't just feel tired. You think slower, remember less, and stress more. Coffee right when you wake up isn't the best move. Your body already spikes cortisol naturally in the morning. If you wait 90 minutes, then drink coffee, it hits harder and lasts longer. Let your biology do the first shift, then send in the caffeine. Studying in short chunks works better than long marathons. That's the idea behind the Pomodoro technique, minus 25 minutes of focused work, then a short break. It matches your brain's natural rhythm and boosts retention. Blue is more than a color. It boosts creativity. That's why brainstorming rooms, tech branding, and writing apps often use calming blue tones. Your brain responds to color cues, and blue says, "Let's think." Typing is fast, but writing by hand makes it stick. Writing forces your brain to slow down and process. It creates stronger memory links. That's why handwritten notes still beat laptops for studying. When you're stuck on a problem, the smartest move is to stop. Literally, stop. Take a walk, take a shower, go to sleep. Your subconscious mind will work the problem quietly and often hand you the answer when you're not even looking for it. You have over 6,000 thoughts a day. But it only takes catching and reframing one negative thought to shift your entire mood. This is how mental resilience starts. Not with control, but with awareness. Want to crave learning? Make it easy and rewarding. Set a tiny goal, like learning one fact per day, and reward yourself with something small. Your brain will release dopamine and wire in the habit. If you read just 15 minutes a day, you'll finish over 1 million words in a year. That's the same as reading 25 to 30 full-length books without even trying. Little bits add up fast when they're consistent. Motivation fades, but systems stick. Set up your space to make good decisions automatic. Lay out the book, close the distracting tabs, silence your phone. You don't need willpower if your environment makes smart the default. Your brain isn't fixed. It's always changing. This is neuroplasticity. Whether you're 5 or 95, every new experience, challenge, or memory creates new neural paths. You are literally shaping your brain daily. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's fear. Fear of failing, not being perfect, or not knowing where to start. Understanding the fear makes it easier to act anyway. Progress is the antidote. Meditation changes your brain's structure. 10 minutes a day increases gray matter and improves emotional control. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It's mental strength training. Failure rewires your brain faster than success. That's why mistakes feel painful. They're carving new paths. Smart people fail often, reflect deeply, and grow faster because of it. Deep work. Long stretches of focused, uninterrupted effort is a superpower. Most people never do it. But one solid 90-minute deep session can do more than 8 hours of distracted busy work. Notifications are the enemy of focus. Every ping trains your brain to crave interruptions. Turn them off, and you'll not only get more done, you'll feel less anxious too. Listening is underrated. When you listen deeply, you absorb more, connect better, and actually become more intelligent. Talking repeats what you already know. Listening adds something new. Curiosity is a superpower. The more questions you ask, the more answers you get. It's not about knowing everything. It's about being fascinated by what you don't know yet. Children ask hundreds of questions a day. Adults ask almost none. Somewhere along the way, we confuse confidence with silence. But the curious mind stays young. You can build new brain cells even into old age. Learning a new language, instrument, or skill after 60 still sparks neurogenesis. Intelligence has no expiration date. Creativity is pattern recognition. It's taking two unrelated things and seeing how they connect. The more diverse your experiences, the more dots you can connect in unexpected ways. Ask why, not just what. What gives you facts? Why builds understanding? Understanding lasts longer, works harder, and lets you apply knowledge anywhere. Books are time machines. When you read, you're hearing the thoughts of people long gone, living lives you'll never live. That's how we stretch wisdom across generations. A little bit of stress sharpens your mind. It focuses your attention, quickens your reflexes, and primes you to perform. But too much, too long, that's when it breaks you. Your brain works best in sprints, not marathons. Work in bursts, then rest. Burnout isn't a badge, it's a block. The internet removed all excuses. You can learn anything, anytime, from anywhere. The only gatekeeper now is your effort. Learning is exercise for the brain. If you don't challenge it, it weakens. But if you stretch it daily, it grows sharper, faster, and more adaptable. Wisdom isn't just knowledge. It's knowledge plus pain plus time. It's what you get when experience and insight meet. The moment you think you know everything, you stop learning. That's when growth dies. Stay open, stay curious, stay learning. Your brain is the most powerful tool on earth, but only if you sharpen it. If even one of these facts helped you think a little deeper today, then mission accomplished. Because knowing things isn't just power, it's a superpower. Good day, world. You're watching World News Daily Recap on Knowing Things is Power. Here are today's top headlines. President Trump has confirmed that the United States joined Israel in carrying out airstrikes on 3 major Iranian nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. 6 massive bunker-buster bombs were dropped by B-2 stealth bombers in what Trump called a spectacular military success. He stated that Iran's enrichment capability has been completely obliterated and that all U.S. aircraft returned safely. In his speech, Trump added, "Now is the time for peace," but warned Iran of further action if provoked again. Iran has condemned the strike, calling it illegal and promising retaliation. The United Nations and key global leaders have expressed deep concern. Tensions are rising across the Middle East, and U.S. bases in the region are now on high alert. In global reactions, Israel praised the strike, while Russia, China, and European nations warned against escalation. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, a massive drone offensive reportedly damaged over 40 Russian aircraft in one night. Back in the U.S., a deadly shooting in North Dakota has left 3 people dead. Authorities are investigating. In health news, a new FDA-approved drug to prevent HIV is being hailed as a major breakthrough in public health. Turkey hosted emergency talks with United Nations leaders today, pushing for calm in the Middle East as fears of a wider war grow. In Poland, conservative candidate Karol Nawrocki has officially taken office after last week's election results were finalized. Today's U.S. strike on Iran marks the first direct American attack on Iranian soil in decades. This could be a major turning point in global conflict and diplomacy with far-reaching consequences. That's your world recap for today. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us in the comments.
For millennia, a sacred land in the Middle East has beckoned to billions, a place of profound significance. This is the enduring story of Israel, often called a kingdom of heaven, yet perpetually shaped by both profound faith and relentless conflict. Our extraordinary journey begins nearly 4 millennia ago, in the ancient land then known as Canaan. Here, amidst fertile plains and rugged hills, the earliest roots of a unique people were firmly planted. These nomadic tribes gradually transitioned to settled agrarian life, building communities and laying the very first stones of their future. Their existence was intrinsically tied to the rhythm of the land and its unpredictable seasons. Legend whispers of Abraham, called by a divine promise to this destined land, establishing a spiritual lineage. His journey marked the genesis of a covenant, binding his descendants to this very territory. The narrative intensifies with the epic account of the Exodus, a powerful journey of liberation from bondage. Led by Moses, the Israelites traversed vast wildernesses, forging a collective identity. They carried with them a foundational code of laws and morality, the 10 Commandments, which would profoundly govern their society. This sacred covenant became the bedrock of their enduring spiritual and national identity. Upon their return to Canaan, the scattered Israelite tribes began to unite, forming a loose confederation of independent clans. This period saw the rise of charismatic leaders who guided their nascent nation. Figures like Saul emerged as early kings, beginning the transformation from tribal life to a centralized monarchy. His reign set the stage for a new era of unified rule. King David, a legendary warrior and poet, captured Jerusalem, establishing it as the vibrant political and spiritual capital. His conquest cemented the city's unparalleled importance for all time. His son, King Solomon, then embarked on an architectural marvel,
June 22nd,
the construction
1940.
of the First Temple. This magnificent structure rose in Jerusalem, a testament to their prosperity. The First Temple became the singular focal point of Israelite worship, symbolizing their
June
unity
22nd,
and direct connection to
1941,
the divine.
Hitler launches
Its grandeur
Operation
defined
Barbarossa,
an era of
invading the
spiritual and national glory. However, internal strife and political fragmentation led to the kingdom's painful division into 2 separate entities. The northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah became distinct realms. This internal weakness left both vulnerable to the formidable empires rising around them, casting long, menacing shadows. The ruthless Assyrians and the mighty Babylonians emerged as dominant forces. In 722 BCE, the Assyrian Empire swept through, conquering the northern kingdom of Israel and forcibly deporting its inhabitants. This marked the devastating loss of 10 of the 12 tribes. Then, in 586 BCE, the Neo-Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar II besieged Jerusalem. They utterly destroyed Solomon's magnificent temple, reducing it to rubble. The remaining inhabitants of Judah were then forcibly exiled to Babylon, initiating the profound and traumatic period of the Babylonian captivity. This was a time of immense suffering and dislocation. Yet, this period of exile also became a time of deep spiritual introspection and the strengthening of their unique religious identity. Their resolve to return to Zion burned brighter than ever. Against all expectations, hope arrived with the rise of the Persian Empire and the benevolent decree of Cyrus the Great. The exiled Jews were permitted to return to their ancestral land. They embarked on the monumental task of rebuilding Jerusalem and, crucially, began the construction of the Second Temple. Though it lacked the First Temple's opulence, it symbolized renewed faith and community. This period saw the re-establishment of a Jewish community fiercely clinging to their heritage amidst the ruins of their former glory. They solidified their identity through religious law and tradition. With the sweeping conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE, a new and powerful cultural force arrived: Hellenism. Greek language, philosophy, and customs profoundly influenced the region. While some embraced this new cosmopolitan worldview, others fiercely resisted the foreign cultural infiltration. This tension often led to periods of intense cultural and religious conflict. The most famous of these struggles was the Maccabean Revolt, a powerful uprising against Hellenistic attempts to suppress Jewish religious practice. This rebellion was a testament to unwavering faith. This heroic uprising ultimately led to the establishment of the Hasmonean dynasty, an independent Jewish state. For a brief period, ancient glories were rekindled and sovereignty returned. However, internal feuds and dynastic struggles once again weakened the independent Jewish state. This vulnerability left them open to the ambitions of an even mightier, expanding power. The formidable Roman Empire cast its colossal shadow over Judea in 63 BCE, absorbing it into its vast dominion. A new era of foreign rule began, marked by strict governance. What followed was a tumultuous period characterized by heavy taxation and repeated rebellions by a proud people. They were unwilling to relinquish their hard-won sovereignty or religious freedom. The Great Jewish Revolt, from 66 to 70 CE, escalated into a full-scale war against Roman legions. This cataclysmic conflict culminated in the complete destruction of the Second Temple. The Temple's fall was a catastrophic blow, profoundly altering the course of Jewish history forever and centralizing worship in synagogues. It symbolized the end of an era. This destruction initiated the prolonged and often painful period of the diaspora, scattering Jewish communities across the Roman Empire. They spread, eventually, throughout the entire known world. Yet, even without a central temple or a sovereign homeland, Jewish communities maintained their unique identity. They preserved their laws, customs, prayers, and deep spiritual connection to Jerusalem. This remarkable resilience became an enduring hallmark of Jewish survival, a testament to their ability to sustain culture and faith across diverse lands and hostile environments. Following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, a Christian realm, assumed control of the Holy Land. Jerusalem transformed into a paramount center of Christian pilgrimage. Magnificent churches were constructed, attracting pilgrims from across the Christian world. While periods of relative peace among diverse religious communities existed, the land remained a spiritual prize. The 7th century witnessed the dramatic and swift sweep of early Islamic conquest across the Middle East. Jerusalem, holy to Muslims, quickly came under Islamic rule. The iconic Dome of the Rock, an architectural masterpiece, was erected on the Temple Mount in the late 7th century. It powerfully symbolized a new era of Islamic religious and political dominance. For centuries under Islamic rule, Jerusalem remained a significant city, revered by Muslims, Christians, and Jews, often coexisting in a complex social fabric. Its spiritual importance endured. The late 11th century brought another seismic shift with the arrival of the Crusades. European Christian armies launched successive campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. These holy wars resulted in brutal battles, the rise and fall of Crusader kingdoms, and a legacy of deep-seated animosity. The conflict profoundly shaped regional perceptions for centuries. Following the eventual defeat of the Crusader states, the land passed through various Mamluk and other local controls. Each short-lived rule added layers to the region's complex history. For over 4 centuries, from the early 16th century until World War I, the land became an integral part of the vast and diverse Ottoman Empire. This period was marked by relative stability. Under Ottoman administration, a complex social tapestry of Muslim, Christian, and Jewish communities coexisted, often with their own distinct legal and social structures. The region remained strategically vital. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the burgeoning of Zionism, a political movement. Fueled by increasing anti-Semitism in Europe, it advocated for a Jewish national homeland in Palestine. Early Zionist pioneers began to immigrate, establishing agricultural settlements and urban communities. They meticulously laid the groundwork for a modern Jewish presence in their ancestral land. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I brought the British Mandate for Palestine, administered by Britain under League of Nations authority. This was a complex and challenging role. The British were tasked with facilitating the establishment of a Jewish national home while simultaneously safeguarding the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities. This proved to be a nearly impossible balance. Rising Jewish immigration, intensified by persecution in Europe, clashed directly with growing Arab nationalism and resistance to Jewish settlement. Tensions escalated rapidly. This period was marked by increasing protests, strikes, and outbreaks of violence between Jewish and Arab populations. The British struggled to maintain order amidst competing claims to the land. The unspeakable horrors of the Holocaust during World War II, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, intensified the global urgency for a safe Jewish homeland. The world witnessed profound suffering. In 1947, the newly formed United Nations, grappling with the post-war world and the plight of Jewish survivors, voted to partition Palestine. The plan proposed separate Arab and Jewish states. This partition plan was accepted by the Jewish leadership as a path to sovereignty. However, it was vehemently rejected by the neighboring Arab states and Palestinian Arab leaders who viewed it as an injustice. For millennia, a sacred land in the Middle East has beckoned to billions, a place of profound significance. This is the enduring story of Israel, often called a kingdom of heaven, yet perpetually shaped by both profound faith and relentless conflict. Our extraordinary journey begins nearly 4 millennia ago in the ancient land then known as Canaan. Here, amidst fertile plains and rugged hills, the earliest roots of a unique people were firmly planted. These nomadic tribes gradually transitioned to settled agrarian life, building communities and laying the very first stones of their future. Their existence was intrinsically tied to the rhythm of the land and its unpredictable seasons. Legend whispers of Abraham, called by a divine promise to this destined land, establishing a spiritual lineage. His journey marked the genesis of a covenant, binding his descendants to this very territory. The narrative intensifies with the epic account of the Exodus, a powerful journey of liberation from bondage. Led by Moses, the Israelites traversed vast wildernesses, forging a collective identity. They carried with them a foundational code of laws and morality, the 10 Commandments, which would profoundly govern their society. This sacred covenant became the bedrock of their enduring spiritual and national identity. Upon their return to Canaan, the scattered Israelite tribes began to unite, forming a loose confederation of independent clans. This period saw the rise of charismatic leaders who guided their nascent nation. Figures like Saul emerged as early kings, beginning the transformation from tribal life to a centralized monarchy. His reign set the stage for a new era of unified rule. King David, a legendary warrior and poet, captured Jerusalem, establishing it as the vibrant political and spiritual capital. His conquest cemented the city's unparalleled importance for all time. His son, King Solomon, then embarked on an architectural marvel, commissioning the construction of the first temple. This magnificent structure rose in Jerusalem, a testament to their prosperity. The first temple became the singular focal point of Israelite worship, symbolizing their unity and direct connection to the divine. Its grandeur defined an era of spiritual and national glory. However, internal strife and political fragmentation led to the kingdom's painful division into 2 separate entities. The northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah became distinct realms. This internal weakness left both vulnerable to the formidable empires rising around them, casting long, menacing shadows. The ruthless Assyrians and the mighty Babylonians emerged as dominant forces. In 722 BCE, the Assyrian Empire swept through, conquering the northern kingdom of Israel and forcibly deporting its inhabitants. This marked the devastating loss of 10 of the 12 tribes. Then, in 586 BCE, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, under Nebuchadnezzar II, besieged Jerusalem. They utterly destroyed Solomon's magnificent temple, reducing it to rubble. The remaining inhabitants of Judah were then forcibly exiled to Babylon, initiating the profound and traumatic period of the Babylonian captivity. This was a time of immense suffering and dislocation. Yet, this period of exile also became a time of deep spiritual introspection and the strengthening of their unique religious identity. Their resolve to return to Zion burned brighter than ever. Against all expectations, hope arrived with the rise of the Persian Empire and the benevolent decree of Cyrus the Great. The exiled Jews were permitted to return to their ancestral land. They embarked on the monumental task of rebuilding Jerusalem and, crucially, began the construction of the Second Temple. Though it lacked the First Temple's opulence, it symbolized renewed faith and community. This period saw the re-establishment of a Jewish community fiercely clinging to their heritage amidst the ruins of their former glory. They solidified their identity through religious law and tradition. With the sweeping conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE, a new and powerful cultural force arrived: Hellenism. Greek language, philosophy, and customs profoundly influenced the region. While some embraced this new cosmopolitan worldview, others fiercely resisted the foreign cultural infiltration. This tension often led to periods of intense cultural and religious conflict. The most famous of these struggles was the Maccabean Revolt, a powerful uprising against Hellenistic attempts to suppress Jewish religious practice. This rebellion was a testament to unwavering faith. This heroic uprising ultimately led to the establishment of the Hasmonean dynasty, an independent Jewish state. For a brief period, ancient glories were rekindled and sovereignty returned. However, internal feuds and dynastic struggles once again weakened the independent Jewish state. This vulnerability left them open to the ambitions of an even mightier, expanding power. The formidable Roman Empire cast its colossal shadow over Judea in 63 BCE, absorbing it into its vast dominion. A new era of foreign rule began, marked by strict governance. What followed was a tumultuous period characterized by heavy taxation and repeated rebellions by a proud people. They were unwilling to relinquish their hard-won sovereignty or religious freedom. The Great Jewish Revolt, from 66 to 70 CE, escalated into a full-scale war against Roman legions. This cataclysmic conflict culminated in the complete destruction of the Second Temple. The Temple's fall was a catastrophic blow, profoundly altering the course of Jewish history forever and centralizing worship in synagogues. It symbolized the end of an era. This destruction initiated the prolonged and often painful period of the diaspora, scattering Jewish communities across the Roman Empire. They spread, eventually, throughout the entire known world. Yet, even without a central temple or a sovereign homeland, Jewish communities maintained their unique identity. They preserved their laws, customs, prayers, and deep spiritual connection to Jerusalem. This remarkable resilience became an enduring hallmark of Jewish survival, a testament to their ability to sustain culture and faith across diverse lands and hostile environments. Following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, a Christian realm, assumed control of the Holy Land. Jerusalem transformed into a paramount center of Christian pilgrimage. Magnificent churches were constructed, attracting pilgrims from across the Christian world. While periods of relative peace among diverse religious communities existed, the land remained a spiritual prize. The 7th century witnessed the dramatic and swift sweep of early Islamic conquest across the Middle East. Jerusalem, holy to Muslims, quickly came under Islamic rule. The iconic Dome of the Rock, an architectural masterpiece, was erected on the Temple Mount in the late 7th century. It powerfully symbolized a new era of Islamic religious and political dominance. For centuries under Islamic rule, Jerusalem remained a significant city, revered by Muslims, Christians, and Jews, often coexisting in a complex social fabric. Its spiritual importance endured. The late 11th century brought another seismic shift with the arrival of the Crusades. European Christian armies launched successive campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. These holy wars resulted in brutal battles, the rise and fall of Crusader kingdoms, and a legacy of deep-seated animosity. The conflict profoundly shaped regional perceptions for centuries. Following the eventual defeat of the Crusader states, the land passed through various Mamluk and other local controls. Each short-lived rule added layers to the region's complex history. For over 4 centuries, from the early 16th century until World War I, the land became an integral part of the vast and diverse Ottoman Empire. This period was marked by relative stability. Under Ottoman administration, a complex social tapestry of Muslim, Christian, and Jewish communities coexisted, often with their own distinct legal and social structures. The region remained strategically vital. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the burgeoning of Zionism, a political movement. Fueled by increasing anti-Semitism in Europe, it advocated for a Jewish national homeland in Palestine. Early Zionist pioneers began to immigrate, establishing agricultural settlements and urban communities. They meticulously laid the groundwork for a modern Jewish presence in their ancestral land. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I brought the British Mandate for Palestine, administered by Britain under League of Nations authority. This was a complex and challenging role. The British were tasked with facilitating the establishment of a Jewish national home while simultaneously safeguarding the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities. This proved to be a nearly impossible balance. Rising Jewish immigration, intensified by persecution in Europe, clashed directly with growing Arab nationalism and resistance to Jewish settlement. Tensions escalated rapidly. This period was marked by increasing protests, strikes, and outbreaks of violence between Jewish and Arab populations. The British struggled to maintain order amidst competing claims to the land. The unspeakable horrors of the Holocaust during World War II, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, intensified the global urgency for a safe Jewish homeland. The world witnessed profound suffering. In 1947, the newly formed United Nations, grappling with the post-war world and the plight of Jewish survivors, voted to partition Palestine. The plan proposed separate Arab and Jewish states. This partition plan was accepted by the Jewish leadership as a path to sovereignty. However, it was vehemently rejected by the neighboring Arab states and Palestinian Arab leaders who viewed it as an injustice. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was formally declared, a moment of profound significance for the Jewish people after nearly 2 millennia of statelessness. Celebrations erupted globally. However, this declaration immediately triggered the invasion of neighboring Arab armies, initiating the First Arab-Israeli War. The conflict engulfed the nascent state in a fight for survival. The war's outcome was decisive, with Israel establishing its borders, but it also created hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees. This marked the beginning of an ongoing humanitarian crisis and deep-seated grievances. The subsequent decades were punctuated by further devastating conflicts that shaped the region's geography and politics. The Suez Crisis in 1956 was an early challenge to Israel's sovereignty. The lightning-fast Six-Day War in 1967 brought significant territorial changes. Israel gained control of the Old City of Jerusalem, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai Peninsula. Then came the surprise Yom Kippur War in 1973, launched by Egypt and Syria, which initially caught Israel off guard. This conflict highlighted the ongoing fragility of regional peace. Later, the First and Second Intifadas, periods of intense Palestinian uprisings against Israeli occupation, added layers of complexity and human suffering. These events deeply impacted daily life. The quest for peace has been a long and arduous journey, marked by fleeting moments of hope and periods of renewed violence. Leaders have repeatedly sought to bridge immense divides. Historic agreements like the Camp David Accords, leading to a peace treaty with Egypt, and the Oslo Accords, aimed at Palestinian self-governance, offered glimpses of a brighter future. These efforts resulted in peace treaties with both Egypt and Jordan, significant milestones in regional diplomacy. However, a comprehensive peace with the Palestinians remained elusive. Fundamental disagreements over core issues such as borders, the legality of settlements, the status of Jerusalem, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees persist. These continue to be major stumbling blocks. Today, Israel stands as a vibrant, democratic, and technologically advanced nation, a global leader in innovation and a hub of culture. Its cities pulse with dynamic energy and diverse populations. Its ancient sites stand in stark contrast to its booming modern economy and thriving startup scene. The country is a fascinating blend of deep historical roots and forward-looking ambition. Yet beneath this dynamic exterior, the weight of its long and often turbulent history and the complexities of its geopolitical position are ever present. Security remains a paramount concern. The story of Israel is not merely a chronicle of war and conquest, but a profound narrative of enduring faith, remarkable resilience, and the perpetual quest for security and recognition. It is a story of a people's unbreakable connection to their ancient homeland. From the ancient kingdom of heaven to the modern state, its journey is a powerful testament to humanity's complex connection to place, identity, and the ceaseless pursuit of a peaceful future in a land imbued with sacred significance for so many. Its narrative continues to unfold, written daily by its people and the world.
If you're watching this video, then you've probably always been curious about how the world around you works. Maybe you were the kid who took apart clock radios, or tore up the backyard to find fossils, or who spent every waking moment reading about everything they could get their hands on. I know I was. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being taught that the world around us is magical, and instead learned that it's cold, hard, dead. Sure, we have some vague ideas about how the world works. But do we really understand it? Do we know why anything happens? Do we know why we're here? I make videos about space, physics, and engineering because I believe that understanding how the universe works is incredibly important. But I also think that it is possible to present complex subjects like this in a clear and understandable way. The goal of my channel is to teach people the fundamentals of how the universe works, so that everyone who wants to can have a basic understanding of the world around them. But it's not just about teaching or learning. It's also about feeling awe and wonder. Looking up into space and seeing the stars, I feel a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what's going on down here, there's always something bigger going on out there. Of course, that's not entirely true. The universe might just be all there is, but maybe that's why I love it so much. We often hear that the universe is expanding, dying, running out of energy, but we rarely hear that it's also growing. Yes, stars will eventually die, but new ones will take their place. As the universe expands, it will keep making new places for life to happen. And even if life doesn't happen again, then it's okay because the universe is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And that's a beautiful thing. So let me take you on a tour through the entire universe, starting with the stuff that you see all around you. Take a deep breath. Can you smell the ocean or fresh-cut grass or the asphalt from the nearby road? Can you hear the wind or birds or your refrigerator? Can you feel the warmth of the sun on your face or the ground beneath your feet. Now close your eyes and try to picture all of those things disappearing. If you can't, then you're experiencing most of the things that make up our universe. Everything around us is constantly sending out messages through our senses, and while those messages might be hard to imagine without, once you can, then you'll realize that most of the universe is sending out signals through radiation and waves. When you see a flower, you're actually looking at the light that it emitted over a year ago. And when you hear music, you're listening to vibrations from a speaker that happened milliseconds ago. All of the things that we normally assume to be real are actually a brief snapshot in time. Most of our universe is invisible because it isn't sending out any electromagnetic radiation. It doesn't interact with light in any way. So the only way that we can see it is through the effects it has on things that do interact with light. For example, we can tell that there is an object blocking our view of the stars behind it. Because the object is casting a shadow, we can measure how fast that shadow moves, and we can tell that it has a mass because the ground around it is bending. These are all forms of indirect observation. They show us that there's something there, but we can't actually see it. And that leads us to the strange realization that everything we see is made of parts that we unsee. Each of the atoms that makes up your phone, you and the chair you're sitting on are over 99% empty space, and while they're technically elementary, meaning that they're the simplest kind of particle that we know of, they're still made up of smaller things. There are elementary particles that we call fermions, that include electrons. Everything that we can see and touch is made up of fermions, and those fermions are held together by 4 fundamental forces. We're probably most familiar with electromagnetism. It is what causes magnets to attract each other, and it is also the reason that you can charge your phone. It's actually the combination of 2 forces, electricity and magnetism, which themselves are caused by the movement of charged particles, and since opposite charges attract, electromagnetism is one of the long-range forces. Another is gravity. It is the force that keeps you glued to the ground, and it is also the reason that planets orbit the stars. Like electromagnetism, gravity is also a long-range force, but it's very weak compared to the other forces. Gravity only becomes noticeable when there's a lot of mass around, so you can ignore it when dealing with small things like electrons and protons. But it's impossible to ignore when you're dealing with the entire Earth. The other 2 forces are the strong and weak nuclear forces. Both are extremely short range, and they're involved in holding the nucleus of an atom together. The strong force binds protons and neutrons together, and the weak force is what allows certain types of radioactive decay to occur. These 4 forces permeate all of space, and they govern how particles behave. And despite being the simplest particles that we know of, those elementary particles are still incredibly complex. Let's take the electron as an example. Electrons can carry electric charge, but they can also spin, and in quantum mechanics, a spinning charged particle generates a magnetic field. Even though an electron is the simplest type of fermion that we know of, it has multiple properties, and those properties allow it to interact with other particles in different ways. In fact, those interactions are what gives rise to all of the complexity that we see in the universe, and yet we know that this level of complexity is only an illusion. Behind it all, we know that there are just 4 forces and a handful of particles. They might be simple, but the relationships between them are complex, and it's in the relationships where the magic happens. So how does all of this relate to you? Well, you're probably mostly standing on the ground right now, which means that you're experiencing the effects of gravity. The reason that you're not falling through the ground is because the ground is made of atoms, which are mostly empty space, and those empty spaces are kept apart by the strong nuclear force. The reason that you can hold something in your hand is because you're re-pushing against it with your muscles, which are made of proteins that are made of amino acids. Each of those amino acids are made of molecules which are made of atoms, which are made of elementary particles held together by 4 fundamental forces. This is a pretty overwhelming thought, but it's actually fairly simple. There's a lot of detail, sure, but they're all just variations on the same theme. And it gets even simpler. You're not just made of the same stuff that the ground is made of. You are literally the ground. The water that you drink was once part of a plant, which was once part of an animal, which was once part of the ground. Now, if you want to get a bit more philosophical, then you'll realize that you're literally made of stardust. The atoms that make up your body were forged in the cores of stars that lived billions of years ago. Stars produce energy by smashing lighter elements together to make heavier ones, and when they run out of fuel, they die and release those elements into space, seeding the universe with the raw materials necessary for life. The same process that created you also created everything else around you. 2. You are literally made of recycled material. So if we want to understand how the universe works, then we have to start with those elementary particles. Unfortunately, that's a huge undertaking. But fortunately, you don't need to know everything about them to understand how the world around you works. You just need to know how they interact with each other. And those interactions are governed by those 4 fundamental forces. And I have a video about those forces coming soon. It's a wild ride through math and physics. But trust me, it's worth it because it's the foundation for everything else. So if you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and check out some of my other videos. If you'd like to learn more about the universe, then I guarantee you'll love my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Here's your world in under 5 minutes. Today is June 20th, 2025. A fragile ceasefire has been declared in Gaza. After a week of intense Israeli airstrikes and rocket attacks from Hamas, over 200 casualties have been reported. Aid convoys are now entering the region, but tensions remain high. In Ukraine, fighting continues near the Kharkiv front as Russian forces push deeper into contested zones. NATO officials are monitoring the situation closely after reports that Russia has deployed advanced missile systems near the border. In the South China Sea, China has issued new naval warnings as it continues to surround and block disputed islands claimed by the Philippines. The United States responded by sailing to warships through the region in what it calls a freedom of navigation exercise. In Africa, the Sudan civil war continues to escalate. The city of El Fasher has seen some of the worst urban fighting since the conflict began. Thousands have fled on foot. Humanitarian agencies warn of famine and disease if aid isn't delivered soon. In France, people are bracing for mass protests as the government's sweeping pension reforms are set to begin next month. Unions are calling for a nationwide strike as workers push back against extended retirement ages. In the Arctic, satellite imagery reveals the fastest ice melt in over 30 years along Greenland's eastern shelf. Scientists say the accelerated melt raises new concerns about sea level rise. In the US, the Federal Reserve has decided to hold interest rates steady, signaling a potential pause in the inflation battle. Global markets reacted with cautious optimism, but uncertainty remains in housing and tech sectors. At the Vatican, Pope Francis met with world religious leaders today to address growing conflicts in the Middle East. He urged unity and prayer across all faiths. That's your world in under 5 minutes. Stay sharp. Subscribe for more.
Beneath our feet a hidden world thrives. Trees, seemingly solitary, are anything but alone. A vast, intricate web connects them all. Not roots, but something far more surprising. Fungi, delicate threads weaving through the soil. A living network, a natural internet. Sharing vital resources, water and nutrients flow. Even sending warnings, a silent signal of danger. The Wood Wide Web, the forest's secret conversation. Listen closely and you might just hear it. The humble banana. A ubiquitous fruit enjoyed by millions daily. A good source of energy, vitamins, and a tiny secret. Unbeknownst to most, every banana possesses a subtle, almost imperceptible power. A power usually associated with clandestine laboratories and heavily shielded facilities. We speak, of course, of radioactivity. Within each yellow curve resides the isotope potassium-40. An unstable atom, slowly, infinitesimally shedding particles. Fear not. The radiation emitted is minuscule, less than what you receive on a short airplane flight, less than the natural radiation in the very air you breathe. Yet it is there. A faint echo of the universe's nuclear processes contained within this everyday snack. A reminder that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary secrets. Of millions in hosting fees and licensing deals. Off-screen, Donald Trump was born on June 14, 1946 in Queens, New York, into a family already soaked in wealth and power. His father, Fred Trump, was a millionaire real estate developer who had built a massive housing empire across New York City. From a young age, Donald was ambitious, competitive, and drawn to power, often clashing with authority figures and teachers. At 13, he was sent to the New York Military Academy for discipline, where he thrived in a strict environment and rose through the cadet ranks. After 2 years at Fordham University, he transferred to the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, graduating in 1968 with a degree in economics. Donald joined his father's real estate business shortly after, helping expand their empire into Manhattan's lucrative market. In 1971, he took control of the company and rebranded it the Trump Organization, a name that would soon dominate headlines. Trump's first major success came in 1976, when he convinced banks to finance the transformation of the rundown Commodore Hotel into the Grand Hyatt. With bold vision and relentless self-promotion, he became a rising star in the world of Manhattan real estate. By the 1980s, he was plastered on magazines, his name becoming synonymous with luxury, ego, and excess. Trump Tower opened in 1983 on Fifth Avenue, a glass-clad symbol of ambition, complete with a marble waterfall and golden elevators. He expanded quickly. Casinos in Atlantic City, hotels, airline ventures, a football team, and even bottled water, all stamped with his name. But behind the gold-plated image, debt was piling up. By 1991, Trump's empire teetered on the edge of collapse with over $3 billion in debt and multiple business bankruptcies. He filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on the Trump Taj Mahal Casino, negotiating with banks to avoid total ruin. Between 1991 and 2009, Trump businesses would file for bankruptcy protection 6 times. Yet Trump himself never declared personal bankruptcy. He walked away from most failures with his lifestyle intact. In the 1990s, Trump pivoted to branding, licensing his name to buildings, products, and even stakes, often with little involvement beyond the logo. His fame exploded again in 2004 with the debut of The Apprentice, a reality show where Trump played the role of decisive billionaire boss. "You're fired" became a pop culture catchphrase, and Trump's brand of confidence and control drew millions of viewers. He used his TV fame to rebuild his public image, often blurring the line between business success and entertainment illusion. The show ran for 14 seasons, earning Trump tens of millions in hosting fees and licensing deals. Off-screen, his personal life remained turbulent. 3 marriages, multiple affairs, and a constant stream of tabloid headlines. He married Ivana in 1977, divorced in 1992, then married Marla Maples in 1993 before divorcing again in 1999. In 2005, he married Melania Knaus, a Slovenian model who would eventually become First Lady. Trump's name was now a global brand, attached to towers in the US, Canada, Turkey, the Philippines, and beyond. But critics argued much of his success came from inheritance, risky loans, and inflated self-promotion. In 2011, Trump made waves by promoting the birther conspiracy theory, falsely claiming Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. The claim was widely debunked, but it catapulted Trump back into the political spotlight and earned him attention from right-wing media. That same year, he flirted with a presidential run, but ultimately backed out. The world wasn't done watching The Apprentice just yet. Behind the scenes, Trump had long considered a political career, and his ambitions grew stronger as America's divisions deepened. In June 2015, he descended a golden escalator in Trump Tower and announced he was running for President of the United States. His speech was instantly controversial, calling Mexican immigrants rapists and demanding a border wall. Pundits dismissed him as a publicity stunt, but Trump quickly surged in the polls by breaking every political rule. He mocked rivals, attacked the media, and used social platforms like Twitter to bypass traditional channels and dominate headlines. Despite zero political experience, Trump won the Republican nomination in July 2016, defeating a crowded field of career politicians. His opponent in the general election was former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, a political heavyweight with decades of experience. The 2016 campaign was chaotic, divisive, and filled with scandals on both sides. Trump faced backlash for the Access Hollywood tape, where he was recorded bragging about sexually assaulting women. Many believed the controversy would end his campaign, but it didn't. On November 8, 2016, in a stunning political upset, Donald J. Trump was elected the 45th President of the United States. He lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million, but won the Electoral College, shocking the political world and redefining American politics. Donald Trump was sworn in as president on January 20, 2017, becoming the first U.S. leader with no prior military or government experience. His inauguration speech painted a bleak picture of American carnage, promising to restore power to the people. From the start, his presidency shattered norms, firing cabinet members on Twitter, clashing with intelligence agencies, and attacking the press as the enemy of the people. Within his first week in office, Trump signed an executive order banning travel from several Muslim-majority countries. Protests erupted at airports nationwide as travelers were detained, sparking lawsuits and global backlash. Despite criticism, his base rallied behind his tough stance on immigration and border security. Trump appointed Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court in 2017, beginning a conservative reshaping of the judicial branch. That same year, he signed a massive corporate tax cut into law, claiming it would stimulate growth and bring jobs back to America. Critics argued it primarily benefited the wealthy and ballooned the national deficit. In 2018, Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, citing national security, a move praised by allies in Israel but condemned by European leaders. He held a historic summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, becoming the first sitting US president to meet with a North Korean dictator. While the photo ops were dramatic, no lasting denuclearization agreements followed. Domestically, Trump's presidency was defined by constant turnover. His administration saw record resignations and firings. He clashed with the FBI, eventually firing Director James Comey in 2017, a decision that triggered a special counsel investigation. Robert Mueller was appointed to investigate Russian interference in the 2016 election and possible coordination with the Trump campaign. The Mueller probe dragged on for nearly 2 years, producing dozens of indictments but no charges against Trump himself. The report stated Russia had interfered in the election to help Trump and that the president had attempted to obstruct justice, but stopped short of recommending prosecution. In December 2019, Trump was impeached by the House of Representatives for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The charges stemmed from a phone call in which Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden's son while withholding military aid. It was the third impeachment in U.S. history, but the Senate, controlled by Republicans, acquitted him in early 2020. Trump claimed total vindication and used the trial to energize his supporters heading into the 2020 election. Then came COVID-19, a global pandemic that would kill millions and define the final year of Trump's term. He downplayed the virus early on, saying it would disappear like a miracle, and resisted wearing a mask in public. His handling of the pandemic was heavily criticized, with inconsistent messaging, politicization of health guidelines, and chaotic responses. Despite this, Operation Warp Speed, his administration's vaccine development program, helped deliver multiple COVID vaccines in record time. Trump contracted COVID-19 himself in October 2020 and was hospitalized at Walter Reed, returning to the White House days later in dramatic fashion. The 2020 election was held amid the pandemic, with record voter turnout and widespread use of mail-in ballots. Joe Biden won the election with over 81 million votes, the most in U.S. history, while Trump received over 74 million. Trump refused to concede, falsely claiming the election had been stolen through widespread fraud. He launched dozens of lawsuits across key states, but nearly all were dismissed for lack of evidence. On January 6, 2021, Congress gathered to certify Biden's victory as president-elect. That morning, Trump addressed a crowd of supporters near the White House, repeating false claims of fraud and urging them to fight like hell. Thousands marched to the Capitol, where rioters stormed the building, broke windows, attacked police, and disrupted the electoral count. 5 people died, and the Capitol was placed on lockdown in a shocking act of domestic political violence. Trump was impeached for a second time, this time for incitement of insurrection. He became the only U.S. president to be impeached twice, though the Senate again acquitted him. In the days that followed, Trump was banned from Twitter and several major social platforms for violating policies on inciting violence. He left office on January 20, 2021, refusing to attend Joe Biden's inauguration, breaking a 150-year tradition of peaceful transition. As he flew to Florida, his political future remained uncertain, but his influence over the Republican Party had never been stronger. Even out of office, Trump continued holding rallies, fundraising, and dominating conservative media. Polls showed he remained the most powerful figure in the GOP, a kingmaker for candidates and a potential frontrunner for 2024. He launched his own social media platform, Truth Social, aiming to bypass the tech giants that banned him. Trump's political war chest swelled with millions in donations from loyal supporters, convinced the election had been stolen. Investigations into the January 6th attack, election interference, and classified documents began piling up around him. But none of it stopped him from announcing in November 2022 that he was running for president again. By 2023, Trump was under multiple criminal investigations, but still leading in Republican primary polls. The stage was set for one of the most controversial comebacks in American political history. By early 2023, Donald Trump was no longer just a former president. He was the subject of multiple ongoing criminal investigations. Each case brought new legal threats, media firestorms, and political division across the country. One of the biggest cases involved his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House. In August 2022, the FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, recovering boxes of government documents, some marked top secret. The Department of Justice alleged that Trump had knowingly taken classified materials and refused to return them, even after being subpoenaed. He was charged in 2023 with 40 felony counts related to obstruction of justice, false statements, and willful retention of national defense information. The indictment revealed photos of boxes stacked in ballrooms, bathrooms, and storage closets, shocking the public. Trump pleaded not guilty, calling the case a witch hunt and claiming he had the right to declassify anything he wanted. The case was set to go to trial in 2024, but it became tangled in legal delays and pre-election controversy. Simultaneously, Trump faced legal trouble in Georgia over efforts to overturn the 2020 election. In Fulton County, District Attorney Fani Willis brought a sweeping indictment against Trump and 18 co-defendants using Georgia's racketeering laws. The charges stemmed from Trump's efforts to pressure officials, including a recorded phone call where he told Georgia's Secretary of State to find 11,780 votes. The indictment accused Trump of leading a criminal enterprise to subvert the election. Trump again pleaded not guilty, calling the case election interference. As if that wasn't enough, a New York grand jury indicted Trump in March 2023 on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. These charges related to hush money payments made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. Prosecutors argued the payments were illegally disguised to influence the election, making them a violation of campaign finance law. It was the first time in U.S. history a former president had been criminally indicted. The image of Trump in a Manhattan courtroom, fingerprinted, flanked by Secret Service, and pleading not guilty, became one of the most surreal moments in modern political history. Even with 3 separate criminal cases in motion, Trump's legal troubles weren't over. In a civil trial in New York, Trump was found liable for sexual abuse and defamation in a lawsuit filed by journalist E. Jean Carroll. A jury awarded Carroll $5 million in damages in May 2023 and another $83 million in a follow-up trial for continued defamatory statements. Trump denied all accusations, claiming the trials were rigged and politically motivated. Meanwhile, the New York Attorney General filed a civil lawsuit against Trump, his children, and the Trump Organization for overvaluing assets to secure favorable loans and insurance. The case alleged that Trump inflated the value of his properties by billions of dollars to banks and insurers, amounting to financial fraud. That trial unfolded in 2023 and 2024, with Trump repeatedly lashing out at judges, prosecutors, and court staff online and in person. Despite all the legal chaos, Trump's 2024 campaign gained traction. He held rallies across battleground states, framing the prosecutions as proof that the system was corrupt and afraid of him. Many of his supporters believed the charges were political, a deep state effort to stop him from returning to power. By the summer of 2023, Trump had emerged as the Republican frontrunner, steamrolling primary opponents and maintaining his grip on the party. Even with 91 total criminal charges across 4 major cases, his base remained fiercely loyal. He skipped the GOP primary debates, citing his lead in the polls, and focused on rallying voters directly. Trump's campaign became a juggernaut, part political movement, part courtroom drama, part media spectacle. His legal team juggled motions, appeals, and scheduling battles, while Trump gave speeches hours after leaving courtrooms. The question dominating headlines was no longer whether Trump would be the Republican nominee. It was whether he'd be a convicted felon by Election Day. The U.S. Constitution doesn't bar a convicted felon from running for president, and Trump used that loophole to rally support even harder. At times, it felt like Trump was campaigning against the justice system itself. Polling showed the country was deeply divided. Some saw a corrupt man avoiding justice. Others saw a patriot being persecuted. Social media became a battlefield of memes, outrage, conspiracy theories, and fundraising pleas. Trump raised tens of millions off his legal troubles, turning indictments into merchandise and mugshots into branding tools. His team released Never Surrender t-shirts and coffee mugs featuring his Fulton County booking photo, which instantly went viral. Despite being under indictment in 4 separate jurisdictions, Trump swept the early primaries. He crushed challengers like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, clearing the path to his 3rd consecutive Republican nomination. The political world braced for a historic 2024 rematch, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, Part 2. But this time, one candidate was running with a criminal trial calendar that overlapped with the general election. Every appearance became a legal political hybrid, rallies one day, courtrooms the next. The stakes had never been higher, not just for Trump, but for American democracy itself. Supporters believed he was the only one who could save the country. Opponents warned that another Trump presidency could mean the collapse of institutions and the rule of law. Foreign governments watched with confusion as America's former president, and possibly future one, stood trial like a criminal defendant. Historians compared the moment to Watergate, the civil rights era, and even the Civil War in terms of national division and democratic strain. Trump's message was simple: they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. He positioned himself as the ultimate outsider, a warrior against corruption, even as the court cases mounted. Whether he would return to the White House or face conviction remained uncertain. But one thing was clear: no American political figure had ever lived a life this chaotic, controversial, and relentless. As 2024 unfolded, Donald Trump stood at the center of the most polarizing election in modern U.S. history. He was not just a former president or political candidate. He had become a living symbol of division, disruption, and defiance.